share the screen again, do the share screen thing. Share screen is probably easier when you have 2 monitors. Right now, I don't have 2 monitors, so we can't do that, brother. That's the tab I want. So let's go. Let's start with the longest and the meatiest of ones, people, where you can see now, which is, well, that's not that. We can speak about that after. Please, someone remind me to speak about the Arsenal fan forum that recently happened. But admittedly, pardon me, I'm here to speak about the Athletic. This was poking fun at the fact of, not even poking fun, just questioning Arsenal's poor start to the season, where it's gone wrong and things. And I've made a mess, people. I can't lie. This writing is too small for me, so I'm going to need to make that bigger if I'm going to read it to you guys, people. So let's crack on. How did we get here? Arsenal are 15th in the 20-team Premier League, substantially closer to its relegation zone than the Champions League places. There is surreal quality to their plight and a cautionary tale, but a careful management of the football club. Spirits may have been raised by a dogged 1-1 draw with 10 men at home to Southampton, but the table still makes for bleak reading. Okay, let's just get into let's just get into it, people. Let's just get into it. Apparently, newer staff talk of the need for a fundamental change in the culture and mentality at London Colney. That if Arsenal continue to exist in the comfort zone, they'll continue to slide. Complacency is a killer. I get that. I see individuals that, listen, there's a difference between complacency and comfortable. You need people to be comfortable. If you're not comfortable in your job, you're not going to do best. People need to be comfortable. It's where it goes to complacency. Someone like Willan, I'm not to scapegoat, but he's a perfect example. Where is his priorities? I'm not questioning his integrity, but where is his priorities? Unauthorized trip to Dubai where we hear for commercial things. Not only was it stupid, with at the time COVID things in place, was it a stupid decision to make, as you guys already know. You could have risked your health. Again, it's a article that doesn't need to be met. But you've also told me that it's not, it's not your priorities. You could have used this time to train. Instead, you want to fly unauthorized. Like I said, you've got the new Puma deal. You've got your restaurant, and your family wanted to stay in England. Why are you at Arsenal? Why does he want to be here? That reflects comfortably. Marie and Cedric, I'm not getting at them because they ain't done anything, but would they get permanent deals off the back of? It's too comfortable at this club. There isn't really pressure. Yeah, there's the occasional pressure when there's poor results. The manager might say things to you, but I don't think there's pressure. I don't think Kroenke is a voice that they can look at and say yes. I don't think Edu and that are applying pressure to Arteta, because if he was applying pressure to Arteta or he felt his job was at stake, he wouldn't persist with certain players or doing things in a certain manner. I'm not saying you must stand over Arteta and put your head over his shoulders and things like that, but pressure makes us all perform better. It all makes us perform better. And when you've got no staff that reflect that, when you've got very little players that reflect that, it just makes Arsenal look like one big facade, which it is. And we are going to constantly slip because, again, alarm bell should have went ringing the first year we dropped out of the Champions League. Or in fact, the first year Spurs finished ahead of us because we were very lucky, not because of Spurs, but we could have not been playing Champions League football full right that season. But it's complacency. We're approaching 5 or 6 years now with no European football. You've just bought someone like Thomas Partey to address an area we've been missing. This is complacency. This, again, tells me reactive. Very reactive. Apparently, the new staff feel that standards have slipped over such a long period that bad habits have become ingrained and not addressed. Sometimes it requires a fresh pair of eyes to tell you who you really are. And that's one thing I'll give Arteta for all his criticisms. He's been very vocal on us needing to sing from the same hymn sheet, for us needing to all fix up our mentality, for the problems that are off the field needing to be addressed, and the structural problems and the mentality. He's been clear on that. And like you said, old habits die hard. They become bad habits. Everybody at this club has bad habits. It's as simple as that, really and truly. Apparently, insiders feel that without a winning culture, without a different level of standard and expectation, Arsenal's potential will remain unfilled. And it has been that. What did you move to the Emirates for? There are some small individuals, yes, but a couple good quality players here. Kroenke, for me, doesn't want to be a winner. He's barely invested any money, but when money has been invested, it's been mismanaged. Have we got bang for our buck with Pepe, with Lacazette, with Mustafi, with Granit Xhaka, with the free transfers of Willan and Mkhitaryan? Did we? Doing some things. You're rejecting 60 million to let Alexis go for free, not being proactive. Josh De Silva, Gnabry, Benassia, Daniel Marlon, leaving for peanuts. crazy. I don't know if we're trying to do this young thing or this experience thing. I would say this: the experienced ones are letting man down. So it's a bit of a joke. It's a bit of a joke. It will. Apparently, they feel that the training ground at London Coley is a haven where outside noise and criticism doesn't breach the walls when it should be a competitive environment. And it should be, you know, you shouldn't let outside noise phase you. But it just feels that if you criticize Arsenal, you know, you look at the people who get to speak about Arsenal and the people who get to obviously be at Arsenal and whatnot. If you're too honest, Arsenal will stop giving you commercial opportunities, in my opinion. And it does feel like, woe is me, that, you know, we don't listen to the outside noise. It is too comfortable. It's just ultimately, because I don't like to use the word soft for obvious reasons, but just soft. Players are soft. The mentality is soft. Everybody is soft. And now and again, you get someone like an Arteta, or maybe even Emre, you know, trying to change the mentality. But one man can't change this. You can't look at one creative midfielder to come in and fix our creative issues. Gabriel sure as hell can't improve us defensively alone. Arteta is not going to make everybody mentally switched on his own. Everyone needs to live and breathe it and feel it. And it only feels that certain individuals want to stand up to be counted, people, really and truly. Apparently, there's a distinction to be drawn between the current crisis at Arsenal and their broader decline. While one seems to have swept in overnight, the other has been in the making for years. If the responsibility of results must sit largely with the incompetent manager, blame for the wider Maltese is more widely shared. And we're not here overnight. Arteta, coaching, everything, I don't see it, but we're not here overnight. We've chosen to be reactive. We've not addressed areas. Only this season we've got Gabriel and Partey, and we're missing both of them for Everton. So we've not addressed the squad. We've not moved players on. We've not brought the right players in. When we have had money to spend, we've mismanaged it, you know. And that's one thing, because as much as I get at Kroenke, if you know the conditions you have to work in, maximize it. We don't maximize outgoings. Not everyone's going to make us money, but we don't maximize outgoings, and we're not spending. We're quite reckless for a team that needs to watch their pennies. We're quite reckless. We are very reckless with our spending. It doesn't seem like we're signing players to fit a piece of a jigsaw. We're just signing players because they're good players or whatever. Do you get it? So you can't, you know, there was problems here long before Emre. There's going to be problems here long after Arteta is gone, people. This is quite a meaty article, so I'm trying to skip out things that are not relevant to you guys. But apparently, you know, Mikel Arteta and his staff have their share of the culpability, something which the Arsenal manager readily admits. Like he said, we have to take the bullets. We are not winning football matches, and you have to put out your chest, which I haven't seen too many. I didn't even see that against Southampton. Only a couple people showed that, people. Apparently, Arteta was so frustrated and disappointed after the Burnley game that he didn't speak to the players, and he preferred to address them at the training ground the next day. And that tells me, you know, that's one thing I'll give Arteta. He can take man to the water, but he can't help them drink, you know. And Arteta's the same old individuals letting you down, so you have to hold your hands up, but he can't account for these lapses in concentration and these stupid red cards. Players have got to want to take responsibility, because at the end of the day, it ultimately falls with the manager. But you're the ones taken to the field. You know, if you're a boxer, your boxing coach can give you all the information and tell you how to win. But the minute you cross into that ring, is you who's got to throw the punches and duck, you know? So you've got to have the bravery. You know, if you duck, get a bang on your chin, and you like, okay, cool, let me not try that again. But if you keep going, putting your chin there, and you get dropped on the floor, can you really be surprised that you got decked? We'll have to see. You know, I do like what Arteta has to say about the leadership and needing players, and mainly the mentality. We'll have to see. Apparently, behind the scenes, club leadership have stressed the importance of simply not losing. Arsenal and Arteta will have taken a spirited second half against Southampton as a sign of the players' continuing faith. Not too sure I do, but apparently, that I'm trying to skip out the relevant bits. Apparently, people, Arteta has tried to tackle the culture head-on, albeit with mixed results, consistently applying his behaviour and non-negotiables. And that's where I have to get Arteta as well, because it feels like there's one rule for some and other rules for the others. Like you're seeing with Willan, like you're seeing with, you know, how Pepe was hung out to dry versus Xhaka. Now, I feel Arteta learned from the Pepe one and applied it to Xhaka to not dig out a player again. And thinking about it logically, if you've seen that your players are turning on you, and you've said that about Pepe and it's not been positive, you don't really want to say something about Xhaka, where we know from Emre days, he's a very big character in the dressing rooms. He might not be a good player, but you get what I'm saying, people. So yeah, man. applying again these non-negotiables, and what he says about certain players in isolation, they make 100% sense, but it doesn't stack up because you look like a hypocrite with certain others now. Apparently it's proven increasingly difficult with some accusations of double standards, which I think there is. Apparently there's also some anger within the club when Willian was permitted to start the match against Leeds after his unauthorized trip to Dubai. You know, unauthorized, commercial, off the back of us playing poor form. This tells me you're not really in it and you're still playing him. So do you mean you trust Willian more than the other individuals, or do you think he's a better option with his poor form? These are things where there's been a lot of things Arteta has had to deal with, yeah, but he has to take responsibility. The very things he can control, he hasn't helped himself really and truly. You know, I do think this job is going to make Arteta a better manager because, you know, he's had to jump in at the deep end. If he succeeds, great. If he doesn't, it is what it is. I think he's the only one that's going to benefit really from this job regardless, because he's jumping at the deep end. He's had to deal with the COVID stuff, you know, the Xhaka stuff. There's been many different side things Arteta's had to deal with aside from us just being a poor football team. How can we get to become a good one? Apparently, the feeling from some quarters was that other players have been more harshly punished for less serious transgressions, which 100% is true. Indiscipline has crept in both on and off the field since Arteta took charge. No team has received more than 7 yellow cards. Some speak of punctuality being an issue at training. And again, we hear that as well. And I was hearing, you dug out Maitland-Niles for punctuality, and we keep hearing people are late. So is Arteta doing this thing for show and he's a softie behind the scenes? Is he sounding, giving the fans what we want to hear off the field and it's not matching up? And again, it's down to delegation because one man can't change this team. You need eyes and ears. When Arteta is off with other players, he needs to know what his team think. And you're never going to know your team's true feelings of you or how they really feel when you're in the room with them. So he needs to be a bit smart and play the game a bit, I feel. I think he's shown good examples when he came in last year of good game and man management. I'm really not seeing any game management, and I feel the man management isn't making sense. So, like, when you have what's happened with Saliba, what's happened with Pepe, you know, what's happened with, you know, apparently, not that I condone it from them two especially, but Xhaka and David Luiz apparently have issues, you know. Apparently, Aubameyang and Laka, you know, you can see how Ozil, Socrates, Mustafi, these are all names you've seen as having issues. You can already see this. And, you know, if they're having this, people they talk to are going to start thinking this as well, people. How many of you have played for a team? Again, AFC Edmonton, you know, many players have had their own little storylines with management. Many players haven't understood stuff. And it only takes a couple players to lose stuff. You know, you lose your team sort of thing. But for what it's worth, I do think people still back Arteta. And for what it's worth, while Arteta retains strong support from the majority of the squad, some divisions have emerged, perhaps inevitably when the group is so large and many players are short of game time. You can't keep everybody happy. But, you know, some of these players that are unhappy, you wouldn't expect that. An unsuccessful team is a frustrated one. You know, show the frustrations on the field, really. The desire to turn things around has led to an atmosphere at London Colney becoming more fractious of late. And I don't mind that. It's been too nice. When I've heard over previous years, people coming out and say Alexis wants to win too much, which is a problem. Or when Tierney first came into the team and they had concerns over how he trained, and he replied, I trained the way I play. This tells you how soft this thing is, really and truly. And it is what it is. You know, The Athletic understands David Luiz was unhappy to be left out of the trip to Manchester United last month as an injury precaution. The player felt fully fit and consequently cut a frustrated figure when left behind. And it is what it is. Was he frustrated when he was supposed to be left out the Man City team before Holding got injured? You know, managers are allowed to make their decisions. Apparently, as well, and this is where I think Arteta hasn't been helped as well, because many close to Arsenal have labelled Arteta's job change from head coach a mistake, a premature commitment to a manager whose stock has suddenly fallen. Sources believe the team is suffering primarily due to poor finishing and red cards, and their fortunes will soon change. Poor finishing is a part, indiscipline and red cards is a part. I would actually say, you know, please make sure you're hitting the like button, people. As usual, please make sure you're hitting the like button. I would actually say, people, personally, for me, I would count indiscipline as I would count the red cards in indiscipline, because for me, indiscipline not only is the red cards. Apologies, let me go back to the screen. Indiscipline is not only the red cards, but indiscipline is also not learning from mistakes. You know, several players making the same bad mistakes again and again, you know, being caught out of possession, not starting games well. This all tells me about indiscipline, not just the red cards, you know. Even what we just said earlier about training, coming into training and them thing there late. That all counts to indiscipline. And for me, that tells me that they might be able to back Arteta as much as they want. Are they really taking him in? Are they taking him seriously? Is he commanding respect? And this is where I'm looking at someone like Edu to take charge, because what did Edu say? He likes to travel with the team. He likes to feel a part of it. And you saw him visibly frustrated against Southampton. It might be a thing where these boys need to hear something new. Go into the dressing room, Edu, and let them have it. You know, because I get that at Chelsea. I could see Peter Cech, maybe not all the time, but going into the dressing room, or Abramovich turning up at 9 a.m. randomly. We don't have that. So when you've got an owner that's telling you what this thing is about, people at below him not telling you what this thing is about, a manager who you have question marks over, you know, this can recipe for disaster. And it tells you that apart from just being Arsenal Football Club, it is a facade, people, really and truly. Apparently, Edu admitted in a fans forum this week that it's clear a player with creativity in the middle is required. I mean, you've got one in the squad. You could have at least. That's where I think Edu showed his inexperience, and Arteta. If you don't want to use Ozil, fine. How many times has Ozil played and still been poor? Pardon me, more often than not. But you've opened yourself up to another criticism, you know. At least Emre, not that I'm backing him, at least he would use Ozil. So imagine you bring on Ozil, he gets an assist. Imagine you brought on Ozil against Southampton, he gets an assist, you know. You can still do what you want with Ozil, but you've played the game. And that's where I felt Arteta probably tried to make too many changes in the close season, and I think the board have as well. There's been too many changes in terms of positioning and jobs. There's been too many incomings and outgoings. Forget the football for a sec, for it to really be a success. And you don't, for me, what kills me with this club, we don't clearly see what we're trying to do. We've got bare Haylen youngsters, but when the chips are down, how many of these Haylen youngsters are playing for Arteta? Arteta's retained faith in these experienced players. Am I lying, people? The ones that have let him down. He's not giving Nelson time because he feels he needs an instant impact. So he's going with Willan. He's not bringing in a Maitland-Niles because he wants to go, or someone because he wants to go with Bellerin. You know, he's not playing Saliba, apologies, because he'd rather use Mustafi, who's got 6 months left. And I'm not saying Mustafi's got commitment issues, but what is there for Mustafi to have any allegiances to you? That's the one thing I would have liked to have seen, and I kind of saw it even with things like starting Eddie. At least you'd think at least the Hayland ones, the Hayland youngsters or the younger players, they're just naive because they're youthful, naive. And you'd think you could put more of an impression on them, get them more inside with you and buy into your way of thinking. You know, I say that when you came over, Xhaka was loving you, Ozil was loving you, everyone was loving you. I personally feel something happened in the summer. We'll never find out, but something mad happened in the summer because I don't know what's happening with Pepe and Ozil. I don't know what's changed with our tactics. Arteta indirectly spoke a couple of days ago and kind of said even when we won the FA Cup sort of thing, there was still a lot of problems. I don't know what's happened in that regards, people, but we have to see. Apparently, the Athletic understands that Arteta's positioning remains secure. The sense those familiar with the club's executive team have is the young player is regarded as a long-term appointment. If you're going to count him as a long-term appointment, then help the man. You haven't helped the man. You have not helped the man. This is probably going to be the hardest job of his life, where there's been a lot of things, quite frankly, that an experienced manager shouldn't have to deal with. You know, there's been a lot of things off the field he's have to deal with. Have you helped him, or have you instead hidden behind him and you occasionally come out now when he's under pressure and say, oh, you know, we retain faith? Arteta knows he's the fall guy. Like I said, Arteta isn't blameless. The very small things he can control, he's provided issues, but people around him haven't stood up to be counted. At least Arteta's standing up to be counted in a sense. You know, so help him. If you've got a long-term investment, look after him. You've got a long-term investment in Arteta. Have you helped him? You've got a long-term investment in Saliba. Have you done the best for that young man to develop for this season? You don't know the answer. Apparently, despite being on a learning curve himself, Arteta is viewed internally as more of the solution than the problem. Nevertheless, the speed in which the crisis has developed, Arteta feels astounding. Nobody, including the club's executives and owners, anticipated this. Just 4 months ago, he was lifting the FA Cup at Wembley. And this is it. You didn't anticipate this. So you mean to tell me you thought that this form would last? You thought this moment would end? Some of them players that won the FA Cup and were part of the team have been part of failures. You know, if you type in, with all due respect, if you type in Mustafi and Xhaka, you know, you'll see good passes and maybe good moments from both of them. But I'll be surprised if there isn't own goal statistics. Well, not that they both have own goals, but just mistakes and red cards and just errors and stuff. There's probably hella compilations on YouTube about errors. So what are you lot talking about? You knew form wasn't going to last. You knew, even if this is where inexperience, where I look at Vinay, Edu and everyone, because again, You should have seen with Emre, and we see it all the time. Even with Oli at United, a new manager comes in, there's a small bounce, everybody buys into it, but sooner or later you've got to evolve. Footballers' attention spans are short, so maybe Arteta hasn't shown that development. Maybe the novelty's worn off. Maybe the players have become not convinced, to which you needed to bring in a midfielder or two. Like I said earlier, you look at our midfield. Apart from Partey, who is going to be there in 2 years? There's a case for Bearman to leave. So what is going on there? And two of the people, Arteta with, who is now a manager and not just a head coach, and obviously Edu, you lot were midfielders. Is it a knock-on effect thing where, again, like I said at the start, I have to get onto Edu, because whether you have no money or 10 billion pounds, you have to be able to work in the context. Can you find cheaper players that can address profiles? You don't have to get Aura and Partey. Can you sign someone from Brazil or elsewhere that is a creative number 8 and is a box-to-box midfielder? You got rid of the scouting team and said you're going to use stat DNA. Where is the thing? Do you get it? But at the same time, if you're having to beg Kroenke for money, I can't really, beg to the point where you have to beg 45 million for Partey. How much is that affecting you doing your job? And likewise, because you can't bring in, man, that's affecting Mikel Arteta because he's working with duds. I'm not too sure. I'm just playing devil's advocate, people. We'll have to see, And again, that tells me complacency. And again, reactive, where we were reactive as a football club. We should have been proactive and said, cool, I want to see this in the league. Let's address all the areas early. I know there was COVID in mind and that one, whatnot. Please make sure you're hitting the like button. I know there was COVID in mind and whatnot, but we should have been proactive to plug the gaps, maybe bring in a marquee signing. Instead, you rested on your laurels. You assumed that, our team could defend properly now, could attack properly now, and the mentality is all there when you didn't see it for 38 games. You saw it for 3 to 4 games or so towards the end of the season, including the FA Cup run. It doesn't mean anything. And as this says, we're approaching our 5th consecutive season outside of the top 4, and we're getting worse week in, week out. I'm not going to read this. Apparently, Arsenal owners knew that the period following Arsene Wenger's departure would be difficult. They've obviously linked it to Sir Alex Ferguson and Man United, who have their own problems. I'm not going to read any more of that. But apparently, Arsenal saw all they could to assemble an executive team robust enough to support Wenger's successor. In the months before Emre's appointment, the then chief executive Ivan Gazidis recruited Sanye to be head of football relations. Even Raul Sanye, he hasn't been replaced. You've given it to Vinay. Vinay is not a football man. Vinay is new in his role. Raul Sanye struggled, but what he did have his contacts, what he did know is football. Vinay, what's going on there? Vinay is the man for the numbers. Stop making men that are numbers men, football men. Stop making football men numbers men. Obviously, if they can do both, let them do it. But just listen, keep man for what they're supposed to do. You don't buy a condom and start trying to blow it up like a birthday balloon, do you? It might blow up, but you'll see how stupid that is, isn't it, people? It doesn't make sense, in my opinion, And again, clearly the off-field changes have harmed us. We've seen Hos Farme go, as you can see here. He was hired by Dick Law, who's also departed. The Michelin thing didn't work. It was a power struggle with this man, Raul Sanye, and we keep having this change thing. Now we're doing the Raul thing. We was all happy when Glazidez quit, so I'm not going to speak about none of that. Moving forward, you just look at this, man. The list of executive departures since the summer of 2018 is quite something, and this goes across medical, analytics, high performance scouting, international scouting, and everything else, which tells you again lack of direction, no proactiveness. And again, Kroenke has to sanction it because he's the man, but at the same time, what's being said in that regards, people? You have to question it, people. He did step on too many toes. It was a power struggle. Please make sure you're all hitting the comment section, people. I want to know what you think. Please make sure you've all hit the like button, people. It's a retirement home over here, like you lot said. Big up Roosters. I'm checking the comments and I can see you've become a member. Smash the like button. Come on, man. It's always there, man. Good to have a story time here and there. I guess why not, man? I don't have much stories to tell. I'm a boring guy, but I'll see what I can do for you guys. Please make sure you're hitting the like button, man. Please make sure you're hitting the like button. The thing that's mad about Willian's transfer is the fact that we had Mickey. Bro, this is it. I don't mind. In isolation, if we had what's the word I'm looking for? A philosophy and stuff, and you get a Willian or a Mkhitaryan or someone like that isn't the profile you're looking for, I don't mind. The fact is he's not a good player, and you're giving them high contracts, big lengthy contracts as well. You're making it tough. You had to kind of make Mkhitaryan cancel his deal, which you probably had to give a compensation fee. Like you can see, we've lost Darren Burgess, we've lost Jason Rosenfeld, we've lost mismanagement, Glazides, not that I care about him, Francis Cahegio for me, which is the most concerning. You've seen Sanye go, and you've seen Huss Farme go, who was in charge of contracts. And I don't want to talk too tough, but a lot of people who I speak to are connected with the club, and certain players and things like that weren't too fond of him and said he talks the part. He doesn't know what the F he's talking about, and he did frustrate people with the contracts as well. Maybe he's a big part as to why contracts took so long and things. So we'll have to see. So yeah, and as you lot know, I don't mind promoting people long term, but at each turn, Arsenal have sought to promote internally. Sanye and Vinay succeeded Glazides on the outgoing CEO's recommendation. When Raul Sanye left earlier this summer, you know, Vinay and Edu effectively assumed his responsibilities. So yeah, people, apparently, you know, you've obviously seen Mikel Arteta's role change from head coach to manager. While some see this as a promotion of a natural consequence of the hands-on holistic leadership style, others close to the club have characterized it as a hasty and untimely, unnecessary move. And again, complacency. You know, you gave it off the back of a few months or a few games to Arteta, you know, and again, it tells you he's getting his foot under the door. It's telling you he's getting more comfortable when he still has a lot to prove. You know, this should have all been done at the end of the season. Now, I get it if it's to help with long-term and more clarity over roles, but when it turns like this, it's quite poor, you know. Like they said, you know, you've burdened a young coach with a lot of responsibilities he does not meet, and there's a lot of things Arteta has to just looking at the team from a footballing point of view. How much is there to do before you talk about transfers and this man coming and that man going, you know, let alone having to deal with new targets, having to deal with this squad and the numerous things that pop up with this season is crazy, you know. As you lot know, as head coach, Arteta's specific focus was on player management, training sessions, team preparation, and opposition analysis. His sole objective was to maximize the performance potential of the first team. You know, the previous model was designed to shield Arteta from distractions and complications. Edu and Farme would lead any additional technical and organization matters. Per Mertesacker would handle the academy, and Sanye would coordinate the team and shield them from additional pressure. Arteta's repositioning means he officially plays a more active role in the wider club matters, such as transfers, operational matters, and he was happy to take it on. Listen, Arteta was happy to take it on, so he's got to face it. He knew the job he was coming into as well, so to a degree, I can't really give him the luxury because you coaching like I was killing Emre under this coaching and a blueprint. You need to work with certain players that you can, and I haven't seen him really get a tune out of anyone. Like, there's not really one player I can sit there and say, yo, they're significantly a better player. We don't have a Musa Sissoko in the sense of, I'm not saying we should, but I'm sure if you ask many Spurs fans, for years he was rubbish. They didn't want him. Now they found a little use for him. We don't have no one like that. We don't have no, you get it? I don't know if we're doing the Haaland thing, the experience thing. There's just a lack of clarity, and ultimately it again highlights that Arsenal are extremely reactive people. And I'm not one to care about age, but this just highlights the inexperienced people. You know, their individual records could be open to debate. The departure of highly experienced football people in Cahegio, Mislintat, Rosenfeld and Sanye has left Arsenal looking green. You know, when you compare all of these highly regarded individuals, you know, they're 38, 42 and 39 respectively. So it's quite crazy. And as I said at the start, Arteta is a first-time manager. Vinay Ventukasham is a first-time chief executive. And Edu's obviously had similar roles. But again, he's also showing his inexperience. We tried to bring in legend David O'Leary and it didn't happen. I think we need footballing men on the board, really. People that can see when we need to bring in a player. People that can, you know, I'm tired of spreadsheet dons. I need a blend. I need people that can do up the spreadsheet thing because you need that. But I need footballing men at this club, you know. It's quite crazy, man. And like this article said, it's difficult to decipher whether Arsenal landed on this current situation by accident or design. I would say the first. The owners could do nothing about Glazides' departure, but did his blueprint for the future have to be torn up? No, it didn't. Some within, not that I back Glazides, some within the hierarchy feel they now have a more clear dynamic way of working, but until results follow, those assertions will be challenged. Apologies. And that's the facts, people. And that's the cold-blooded facts, really and truly. Like it's absolute craziness, people. You know, it is very difficult to decipher. So let's move on, man. I'm not gonna waste my time speaking about the Kroenkes, but again, you know, short-term thinking. I'm not getting at keeping Aubameyang at the club, bringing in David Luiz or Willan. It just tells us the long-term value. I don't really agree with this because there might not be resale value, but you've still got a player who's going to at least give you 5 years at the top. Not everything has to be done for resale value, because even then we don't recoup any money really and truly. Since January 2018, Arsenal have signed several players already in their late 20s. I don't mind late 20s, but Mkhitaryan was 29 on arrival. Aubameyang, again, is a different case. Lichtsteiner, 34. Socrates, 30. Luiz, 32. Cedric, 28. Willian, 32. Now, Cedric Suarez, to be fair, apparently Maitland-Niles was going to move, and I would have went for another right back, but I can understand bringing that in. But the rest, apart from the exceptions of Partey, of Aubameyang, and to a degree Suarez, in fact, even including him, it just screams retirement home. You would think or hope that these experienced players, they ain't got time to waste. They're going to play with a sense of urgency. But again, you get what you pay for. We've paid quite highly on all of them. Even with Socrates, you didn't pay the biggest transfer fee, but you gave him 100k. He's sitting here until he ends his contract here, or at least until January. It's crazy, people. Absolutely crazy. Like they said, Chelsea were only prepared to give my man. They wanted Willan to stay, but 2 years, that's it. We've given a man 3 with an option of a 4. So we can't move him on now. Crazy. Absolutely crazy. And apparently there's tensions. Apparently there are those among the club's leadership who believe they won't truly be competitive until after 2022, when their young players have sufficiently developed and many of the current squad will be moved on, taking some of the club's old culture with them. Okay, cool. But what's there to change it? What's there to change the mentality? Because we could say these young players are going to go and do the same things in terms of how they continue. Because what is new here that tells us this mentality is different? To tell a 19-year-old Saka, yo, what you saw them people that played in your position before that, what they were doing, that's not it. This is the new standard. What's there? And also the development of the young players. The potential is there, but what's the development? What's our development plan for Bukayo Saka? What's our development plan for Joe Willock? What do we see as Joe Willock? What do we see as Smith Rowe? What player do we see as Nelson? How are we going to develop Saliba? Potential is just one thing. We just look at this potential thing. It's what you do to help them realize that, and whatnot. On Aubameyang's contract, The Athletic revealed in July the attacker's original contract from 2018 granted the club a purchase option of an additional year, triggering that would have forcibly extended his contract until 2022. And obviously, with Aubameyang's problems right now in front of goal, it looks like that's the best option. But let's be fair, we were saying that's a good option. My problem is also this, because again, the Kroenkes don't spend. They're quite poor, but at the same time, the little money that has been available to us, we haven't done much with it. As I said, Willian free transfer, very expensive. Mkhitaryan free transfer, very expensive. I said Lucas Perez at the start of this. Mustafi, Xhaka, any of these players going to be remembered in 3 years? Maybe these two for headaches. But already them. To be fair, this guy didn't have much of a chance, but not that he was going to be good. And apparently, The Athletic estimates the club have spent 500 million in the transfer market, as well as significant compensation outlay for dismissing the staff members and additionally the staff of both Unai Emery and Arsene Wenger. So again, mismanagement. Mismanagement. You've got Edu being a hypocrite, saying, I like the fact Willian is Premier League proven, he hit the ground straight away. Now saying he needs time. You don't know me, I love Arsene Wenger, but he once described Xhaka as a box-to-box midfielder, and now it's a deep line playmaker thing. We've broken our record. We broke our transfer record twice in the space of 6 months. Again, if this individual was doing his job, this individual probably doesn't come in. This individual's been a good player for us, but, I didn't buy him for assists, work rate, passion, making other players look good. These should be givens. We bought you to be a 20 league goal plus man, and you ain't done that, which is why it's not surprising that there's no talk about his contract, and they'll probably let him go. One striker I think should get a new contract is Eddie Nketiah, just for the basis of protecting resale value. He's increased his stature within the team. Am I lying, people? He's contracted until 2022. Go and make sure you get top dollar for him, Aubameyang's been a good signing. Let's not cap. There was an opportunity. I like Pepe, but again, 72 million. He was never going to justify that. But again, there's not a real plan for how you're going to get the best out of him, really and truly. Apparently, there are indications that might be changing, and the hierarchy do recognize the squad has major issues in terms of technical qualities, technically understanding and mentality. The signing of Partey was predicted on a tactical vision for the team presented by Edu to the club's ownership. However, that vision is yet to be realized. Obviously, Arteta recently told reports in Spain he needs 5 or 6 positions, which is a fact. You know, and that is a cool, you know, this is cool. We have bought some good players. You know, Saka's emerged from the academy. I know Gabriel got sent off, but he has been a good player for us. Let's not lie. You know, Martinelli's very exciting, and Kieran Tierney's been a good left back for us. But you know, why these players, with the exception of Saka as well, why are these the only success stories? You know, for every Gabriel, how many centre halves have got it wrong? For every Martinelli, how many times have we got it wrong? You know, we got it wrong for 100k a week with Kolasinac, another free transfer, yet very expensive. I'm not gonna lie, we was told Kolasinac, Bundesliga Player of the Year, boom, boom, this, that, and the other, and he can't defend. So where's the IQ around this? It doesn't make no sense. Apparently, the last summer transfer window, capped by the addition of Partey, was largely greeted as a success. I don't think that is, people. You know, we had to balance the books, and apparently, this is what happened, really and truly. We've only made, since 2016, that's been our sales, 198 million versus a spending of 500. So what does this tell you? There's no direction from those at top. We're mismanaging the pennies we're allowed to spend, and we're just getting it wrong several times over. And for a team that has to be self-financing, for a team that talks about academy and developing players, you should be making a lot more than that on player sales. You know, you shouldn't let Gnabry, Benassia, Donio, Marlin, all of these players leave for peanuts, people. It's quite crazy. You know, we'll need to do a lot more. We'll need to do a lot more, people. You know, I'm not even gonna. And again, for me, it's just the Kroenkes, because I might do another video, but it's just the Kroenkes, people. You know, they took sole charge in 2018. You know, but I've been the majority shareholder since 2011. We stopped being a football club the moment we went there, people. Really, really and truly. You know, I don't know if we're ever going to get back to where we need to be while these men own the club, but we'll have to see, people. We really have to see. So with that is the end of that one. That was a big, big, meaty one. There's 395 of you here, people. Please make sure you hit the like button. It doesn't cost a thing, people. It doesn't cost a thing. Please make sure you're hitting the like button. It's really appreciated, and it does a little bit to making, you know, my thing blow. You know, like you said, Kolasinac, Mkhitaryan, Willan, all free transfers, all extremely expensive. All extremely expensive. What did we learn from it? What did we earn from it? It's crazy. Oh, I don't mind him being dropped and having a transitional year, but what is the transitional year at the end of the day? What are we trying to make him in? What are we going to do in the short and medium to get the long-term Saliba that we brought him to this club for? And the same goes for the rest of the young players. But again, it's very reactive, you know. We're reacting. A proactive team doesn't run around on the last day of the season for a centre-half they describe as a Rolls Royce, and previous staff member in Raul Sanche says that he's going to be our centre-half for a decade. You don't run around on deadline day trying to farm him off somewhere to Germany, to England, to the second division in England, or back to France. You don't. You have a clear vision. If you don't think he's ready, you get him back to St. Etienne, or you do what you need to do early doors. Am I lying, people? Am I frying? And it's easy for me to sit here and say this, of course, but it is what it is in that regards, people. It really is what it is, people. Moving away from that, and let's speak about Leno, people.